Hi, Unnecessary Roughness live on Saturday night of the playoff. The epic first 2 days of the 12-team playoff. Kayce, I'll be 90 years old and talking to my great-grandchildren, and they'll say, where were you the night 4 teams who got exposed as pretenders got their fucking ass whipped in the college football playoff?
Not a single good game.
Not a how many good quarters were there? Like, I guess Texas Clemson technically had a couple.
And we were in the air for it. We were on our
we didn't see it,
we
yeah.
didn't get to see it. We had updates. I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. We are live all together in Chicago. Ev and Liam are waiting to see if there's a flag plant, which would be ridiculous. I'm tired, Brandon.
Yeah.
My eyes they're droopy.
I thought when we got back from Columbus, because, you know, being outside in the cold will take it out of you.
Yeah.
And then we get on the plane. And I thought when we got back, this game would energize me. Because when on Saturday, on Friday, Thursday, whatever. Let's do the ad first, and I'll tell you at this point. We're brought to you by High Noon. Big Ev and Blutman will be joining us shortly. We're live on Saturday night. Go ahead.
Yes, High Noon. We were in Columbus, as we've mentioned. You probably watched the college football show if you're listening or watching this, or if you didn't, it's fine. It was freezing cold. We could leave the High Noon outside, and it just got that nice chill. I had an iced tea on the desk, and my hands were frozen, Brandon, but then I would take a little sip of that High Noon and warm me up. This is going to be our last podcast before Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. So it's our last reminder. The holidays are better with High Noon. HighNoonSpirits.com. Go get a pack.
So last show, I correctly predicted Notre Dame would blow out Indiana. I correctly predicted SMU didn't belong on the field with Penn State. Clemson hung around for a little while, but then I said at least we'll have Ohio State, Tennessee. At least we have one game where I know both teams belong, where I know, I'm 10 toes down, I fucking know both these teams belong. And then Tennessee said, hold my orange beer, because we're going to get our fucking asses kicked worse than anybody. We're going to laugh at Indiana this time. I'm going to say I'm right. I'm going to laugh at SMU and say I'm right. But fuck, Tennessee made them look like Newt Rockney out there with what they just pulled in Ohio Stadium.
And, you talk about a good quarter. It wasn't a full good quarter, but at least at the end of the second quarter, there was some life for Tennessee. They looked like, holy shit, okay, we're going to go into halftime. We're only going to be down, what was it, like 13 at that point? Whatever it was. And I'm like
21-10 at the half.
So 11 points, and they're getting the ball back coming out of the second half. You're like, okay, It's about to be a game. Josh Heupel's going to go in the locker room. He's going to get these boys ready. We know they play a cold weather style of football. We're not asking Nico to throw the ball 1,000 times. They came out worse than they looked in the first half of the game. It was pathetic.
It was pathetic. It was weird. Now, listen, there's also an element, because I feel like, and I do it more than anybody in the world, there's an element of when Indiana gets blown out, talking about them. There's an element of when SMU gets blown out, talking about them and how they don't belong. And there's an element of when Tennessee embarrasses himself, just talking about, oh, my God, Tennessee, LOL. That's the Ohio State team that should have shown up against Michigan. That's the Ohio State team that can win a national title. That's the Ohio State team who can beat Oregon. That's the Ohio State team who did beat Indiana. Like, if that Ohio State team had shown up against Michigan, they wouldn't be the laughing stock of college football for the last 3 weeks. Anyway, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that game when the boys get back. Let's just talk about this on a macro level, okay?
Okay.
Back in August, or whenever we found out of this 12-team playoff a couple years ago, we all had visions of what it might look like. And certainly for 10 years, the 4-team playoff had a lot of blowouts. But I didn't envision us the first weekend of the 12-team playoff. I thought finally we're going to have something competitive. Finally we're going to have something where everybody has a seat at the table. And we're still going to have an 8-team playoff going forward the last 3 weeks. It looks really good. The first weekend was a dud.
Okay, here's my sunshine and rainbows point here, though. You're right. They all 4 were duds. However, in the past, when we've had semifinal blowouts, you're like, well, shit, we only get 3 games for the playoff. And we only get to see 3 total games to figure out who's going to be the national title, and 2 of them are going to be blowouts. Sometimes it's been 3. At least we know, Brandon, that there are still 8 teams. I mean, granted, we haven't seen 4 of them play yet in the playoff. At least we know there's more games coming. That's the thing that I hated about the semifinal blowouts. It was like, okay, so we think that these were the 4 best teams in the country, and then 2 games are usually a blowout, if not 1 really bad blowout, and you're like, then these weren't the 4 best teams. Now it's like, okay, we've got it. I was almost said diddled. That's not the right word. Again, brain fog. We've got it down
Whittled.
I knew I was close.
You tried to say dwindled and whittled at the same time. That's what you did.
And then we were talking about Diddy earlier. It's just a whole thing.
Yeah, because you went to his parties, right?
No, I did not. Don't you put that on me.
Okay, all right.
I know you were there, but that's a whole different story.
Still go.
Yeah, no.
Hmm?
You still go? Anyways, at least my whole point is like, yes, these were blowout games, but I'm still excited about this playoff expansion because we get to actually see this all play out on the field. We know Indiana's a fraud. We know SMU's fraud. Apparently Tennessee's a fraud. Clemson tried to keep it close. They even had an opportunity to backdoor cover at the end of the game. It didn't happen. They didn't belong in the playoff. They backdoored themselves into the ACC championship. Now we've got 8 teams that deserve to be there, and at least we're going to see that play out. Because in the past, we'd be like, okay, well, now we're just watching the national championship.
The honest truth is Clemson was a 9-3 team who got here. Nobody really believed they deserved. They kind of got here on technicality, and they got handled like a team like that should. Indiana beat nobody this year. Didn't. Here's the argument online is so fierce right now about Indiana, and now Tennessee got blown out, and it's like, well, why don't you say the same thing about Tennessee? And it's a fair point. The argument isn't to me if Indiana deserved to be there or SMU deserved to be there, because they did under the current system. They did. Alabama, who lost 3 times, Ole Miss, who lost 3 times, South Carolina, those are teams that didn't deserve to be here because they blew it. They blew it when they had opportunities. They blew it against Kentucky. They blew it against Vanderbilt. They blew it against LSU. They blew it against those teams. Those teams didn't deserve to be here. All Indiana did was win all the games they had to win to get here. All SMU did was do the same thing. So in the system, they deserved to be here. The problem was ball knowers like me were smart enough to say, hey, we got a real problem here. And the real problem is the big conferences, the 16, 18-team conferences, have created a world where you can get a schedule handed to you where you don't play the good teams in your conference. And that's what Indiana got this year. Indiana is not to blame for what happened. Indiana deserved to play that game last night. But Indiana not once was forced to earn anything this year, and that's a problem that we need to fix going forward. I don't know how we fix it. But, again, like I said already, so much focus on Indiana, SMU, Tennessee getting blown out. Let's should we also focus on Notre Dame, Penn State, and Ohio State for doing the blowing out?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Going back to your point, though, and I tweeted this last night, and I know a lot of people were talking about how the committee is going to fix this moving forward. Indiana doing what they did in the standalone game, the first game of the new playoff expansion, a home game in Notre Dame, the whole college football planet is watching. My thing with Indiana last night was Kirk Sidnetti doing all the stuff that he was doing, that they are going to look at that Indiana team, this specific one.
Yeah, you had a great tweet about this.
This specific one, and for the rest of time, they're going to be like, hey, remember that 11-1 Indiana team that we thought deserved to be in because they had a really easy schedule? Yeah. They looked like ass. We should really talk about the strength of schedule. That, to me, was the biggest thing. It was like, okay, Indiana did something to basically say, we've got to change this. They proved the point that you've been making. Yeah. To the committee.
For a day they did, and then Tennessee got smoked, and it softened the blow for Indiana. It was big time softened the blow for Indiana because Tennessee went out and did the same fucking thing, and there's no questions that Tennessee deserved to be in this playoff. I mean, they were the highest seed that didn't get a home game. They definitely deserved to be there.
The bigger question to me is the strength of the SEC this year, and we can get into all of this. I know obviously we have the Christmas week coming, but we can get to all of it. It's very funny how last night and all day today, outside of the Texas Clemson game, because obviously Texas is in the SEC. But all you saw, and South Carolina fans, I'll give you this. Yes, you lost 3 games. The worst thing that happened to you is who you lost to. At least you finished the season strong. I am so fucking sick and tired, and obviously the Tennessee game, quieted SEC fans a whole lot. The Alabama fans and the Ole Miss fans who were like, this is who you guys wanted to see. You cannot have multiple chances to get in the playoff and fuck it up. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky, the worst team in the SEC. They had 1 win against them. Then they still had a chance to go in, and they lost to Florida. I'm sorry, bro. That's your fault.
You know who needs to shut the fuck up?
Who?
Lane Kiffin.
Well, he was very quiet.
Take the Twitter away from Lane Kiffin. He sure got quiet when Tennessee got killed.
Well, very quiet. He ain't tweet.
Hey, boys.
Hey, boys.
Hey, bro.
Welcome. Look at Mr. Smiles a lot. Look at Mr. Mr. My shit don't stink anymore.
Oh, was there any flag planting? We don't know.
No, not that we saw early. Didn't he actually went over to the other bench. It was giving some love to the Tennessee.
I thought you were going to say he went to go take their flag.
Might be
unless he's pulling one now, he's initial. He did not just grab a flag and go.
All right, let's go game by game. We've already talked about it. I said that there's so much focus on with every game to stand alone, right? But there's so much focus on how some of these teams have lost. Indiana losing like that, Tennessee now losing like that, and SMU losing like that we really aren't focusing enough on the teams that did the blowing out, of Notre Dame doing what they did, of Penn State doing what they did, and tonight Ohio State doing what they did, and I'll let you start because you got to be over the moon about finally seeing an Ohio State team play like they ought to.
I needed a game like that for my soul.
Yeah.
For like my being, my purpose as a human. It just felt really good to see Ryan Day just like rally the troops. Like, listen, I've trashed him a ton. I've obviously talked a ton of shit about him. I was calling for his head all the last 2 weeks. I will do that, but I like when I feel it's deserved. But I also will give credit when it's deserved for him to get this team off the mat the way he did, and rally the guys in the senior class and Jack Sawyer, all the shit that he took the last few weeks, had an awesome game. JT had an awesome game.
Yeah.
I mean, the offensive line played great. Will Howard played the best game of his college career. He played an unbelievable game today. If Ohio State plays like that, they'll win the national title. I've never been more sure of anything like if they can. I don't know if they can play like that for 3 games straight.
How things change so quickly.
I have a question for you.
I hadn't seen them. They hadn't done this all year. This is the best game they played all year against anyone. If they play like this, no one can beat them.
There was no Will Howard goofs, as Liam would say, but I do have a question. And I tweeted,
was one.
There almost was one, but he didn't have one. And I mean, the game was so out of control.
Even the pick was a good throw.
How the fuck was that the same team that lost to Michigan? And I'm not. That's not a troll. Like, I'm legitimately curious. Like, I'm watching this game and I'm like, Michigan had no business being in that game with this Ohio State team. What happened?
Just the game they called. They just called they called the only game that they could lose. If they called the same plays they called tonight against Michigan, they win by as many as they want. Like, it truly is like no matter what happens, whether Ohio State lose to Oregon or they win the national title or something in between, no matter what happens, that'll truly be one of the more like, I'll be thinking about the game in 20 years and be like scratching my head like, how did they do that?
Perplexing.
It truly is. It's stunning. Then seeing them play like that, it's even that much more stunning. It's one of those things I'm almost trying to, after seeing them play so well, I'm almost trying to just like get rid of that one. Like, I needed this one, get off the schneid. See the team. This was the team at its fullest potential.
Well,
we saw it tonight.
Yeah, but it was also an all-time stinker from Tennessee.
Totally.
Because I listen, I thought this was a good enough team defensively, and I thought this was a good enough team with the run game to control and play well despite the cold weather, despite being an SEC team going into cold weather. And they fell behind so decisively and so quickly. They were not ready to play. They were not ready to play at that level. They were not ready to play on that spotlight. Whatever it was, Josh Heupel did a shitty job getting this team prepared, or this team just is a mediocre football team, because that's how Ohio State treats mediocre football teams, what we just saw. Massively, massively gigantic. Listen, Indiana got blown out. Sure, they're just not very good. SMU just not very good. That was a remarkably disappointing game from Tennessee, because I thought, and other people thought, they had something in there. They beat Alabama. They compete with Georgia. And that's what you come up with? Maybe you're mediocre and shitty too.
Which I think talks about the SEC as a whole. I really do. And I'm not saying moving forward it's going to be that way.
I don't think the SEC's winning a national title or playing for a national title this year.
Is there a chance that the 3 best teams in the country are all in the Big Ten? I don't.
Yes, there is a.
Throw Notre Dame in there too if you want to say like they're in the 4. I really think there's a strong argument.
Big Ev, I wouldn't say I wouldn't even really debate if there's a chance. I think it's more likely than not the best 3 teams in the country. And people, because I talk with a Southern accent, and because I talk with a lot of chest behind what I say, people always say, "Oh, you're an SEC homer. I bet you hate this. I bet you hate this." I've been stumping for Penn State and Ohio State for years. I was on Penn State last year, and I was on Ohio State this year through it all. Oregon is also very good. I think the 3 best teams are in the Big Ten.
Like, I think we're getting the national title game next in the Rose Bowl.
I think
Ohio State and Oregon is like, we saw the first one; it was a classic.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're due for that again. Like, it's going to be another classic. Like, I really think those are the 2 best teams. And I think the winner of that game will be like the decisive favorite to win the national.
Well, and that's why in Blutman, I know you've said it from the very beginning. Everybody's been saying it, but like that's why it sucks that is the matchup that we're getting next week. Like, those are the 2 best teams in the country, and we're getting them in round 2.
Yeah. I gotta refrain from tweeting again, or else yes, the kneecaps are gonna get got. But
Blutman's been doing that all night, by the way.
Yeah, because like there is an unfortunate format that we have. It's an inherent flaw, and we should talk about it. That way we could get change for the future. It's unfortunate that Ohio State and Tennessee had to play each other in the first round. Sure, Ohio State whooped their butt. Game wasn't close. Job well done. Now it's Ohio State, Oregon in the second round. Not only is that not right for Ohio State, it's not right for Oregon. Meanwhile, look what Penn State's got.
Yeah.
It's a tough look. How is that not a tough look? Look what I mean. Yeah, I think ASU is going to battle Texas and is like live to win that game. But look what Texas draws in round 2 and what they drew in round 1, and it's too seismic of a difference.
Well, listen. Today wasn't perfect. Yesterday wasn't perfect. The 12-team playoff created one of the most exciting regular seasons of all time, and will in the future, I think, be the way, or whenever they expand. But I think this is the way. We're going to figure it out along the way. This is the first one. You know, when Ford put the Bronco out a few years ago, you didn't want to buy the first one because it had a lot of glitches in it, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's a great vehicle again. This one is a little glitchy. This one's a little glitchy. You've got some teams in there who never got tested, and people were able to schedule their way in there, not by their own fault, but they scheduled their way in there. We got to figure out the way we're looking at certain things.
Buys.
You got the buys. The seating is a little wonky. No, it's not a little wonky. The seating is fucked up. So, but let's just play with this format. Okay?
I think one thing that needs to happen is the committee needs to have a true baseline of how to evaluate each and every team. There needs to be a guideline. It can't be this, we're making stuff up for Team A and we're not using any of this for Team C, and all that garbage, all that hoopla to get the narratives that they want going isn't right. There needs to be a true baseline that takes in for account not just the strength of schedule, not just like quality of losses, quality of wins, etc. Look at everything. Look at the eye test. The eye test matters. Everything needs to be jumbled up into one. It can't just be so pick and choose, which it is. And it's terrible like that.
Ev, you and I were talking at lunch today because you said that you think, like, when you look at how these teams have played out, now obviously Tennessee does throw a wrench into this, but that if South Carolina wouldn't have had losses to Ole Miss and Alabama, because those were the two other teams in the conversation, that if they had lost to two other teams, let's say, that they could have maybe had more of an argument because the way they finished the season. And like, if I'm a South Carolina fan, like, I'm kicking myself right now because it's like they had that team of the three teams, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, like, they were the ones that were hottest at the end of the year. They're the ones you didn't want to see. They beat Clemson, who made it into the playoff. The committee said, well, we're not even going to consider them because they lost to Alabama and Ole Miss, who we're also considering. And that's fine, but there's still something with the way you finish the season too, right?
Yeah, no, I think they, like, listen, they couldn't put them in the way, like, just the way things unfolded. Yeah, I think my thought was more like if they lost to just different teams, say like they had lost to Georgia and I don't know, whoever, like that would have made sense. They would have had more of an argument.
Right.
To like maybe jump like an SMU or like an India. I still don't think they could have done it really, but they would have had more of an argument. Like it's like, do you think they would have played do I think South Carolina would have played a more competitive game than Indiana or SMU? Like, sure, but that's you just can't do it that way. I don't know how you fully fix the schedule discrepancy thing, because like the way the conferences are, you're going to get some random draws like that.
Yeah.
Because like the Indiana thing, like, listen, the way they were, let's call it what it was, they were much closer to the Illinois-Minnesota class of the Big Ten than they were the Ohio.
I think Illinois is better than Indiana.
They might be.
Yeah.
And they fell into like the Minnesota, Illinois, Michigan class. They're in that class. They're in that class.
Indiana probably.
They're the second tier of the
Indiana
Big Ten.
with Signetti, probably a very good, solid 9-3 team.
Yes, like
that should
9-3. Yes.
A remarkable step forward. But as it is, we'll remember them for kind of being fraudulent. But they did take a huge step forward. He is a good coach. Let's take it game by game now. First of all, why don't you do some business, and then we'll go back to last night, start there, and put this thing back together.
Brandon, some business would be Shake Shack. Because,
yes.
Listen, we were starving earlier. We were absolutely starving. We got off the jet. We came, we were like, what are we going to eat? The Burger Blitz. We had the Shake Shack. As we've been saying, it's the final days of the Shake Shack Holiday Burger Blitz, but we're continuing strong. Today is the bacon cheeseburger. So it's free with a $10 minimum purchase using code Burger Blitz. You can go on the app. You can go online. If you go to the store, just tell them it's Burger Blitz. Brandon, you love bacon cheeseburgers.
Okay.
You love bacon cheeseburgers. The Applewood smoked bacon on a toasted potato bun. We love Shake Shack. Shake Shack's delicious. It's been keeping pretty much everybody in this office fed for the last week. They're going to continue. Burger Blitz. Thank you to Shake Shack. I think that the avocado bacon burger is next. They've got all the burgers.
Shout out to Shake Shack for the burgers. The other day when they brought their stuff, I ate a burger. They also brought 2 of their milkshakes. Oh, my God.
Pretty good.
Woo, woo.
They sent me a lemonade.
Yeah.
And I hadn't had a lemonade in a minute. And it was pretty tasty.
All right. Last night, Indiana loses to Notre Dame 27-17. Yeah, all right. Yeah, right. That was 27-17. Okay. Anyway, they lose 27-17. As soon as Jeremiah Love went 98 yards in the first quarter, we all knew what was happening. Notre Dame was just better at every single position. Me and you going round and round tonight on Curtis Rourke, by the way, because there might not be a more fraudulent player in the country than his ass. As soon as the competition got good twice, he was fucking useless. Anyway, I want to start with Curt Cignetti. He goes on game day a couple hours before the game and says, puffs his fucking chest out. I mean, just speaks with everything he's got and says, us, when we play top 25 teams, we beat the shit out of them. Remember Nebraska? Yeah, fucking Nebraska. Nebraska and Coastal Carolina. It was one of the most pathetic shit-talking things I've ever seen. And then this motherfucker goes out there and looks lost. He looks fucking lost for 3 quarters. And in the fourth quarter, down 17 with 10 minutes left, 4th and 9 from the 48, I think. 4th and 9 from the 4th and 7 from the 48, I think. 4th and 7 from the 48, down 17 with 10 minutes left. He punts. Why'd you punt, Kurt? Because our defense is playing well and our offense wasn't. Well, guess what? You just gave up. You gave up. He's a fake, a phony, a fraud. All this bluster, all this bravado. He knows his team was fake. He knows they weren't as good as anybody. He knows they didn't belong there, and he coached like it.
Blutman?
I mean, he's speaking straight facts, homie. There's nothing wrong with what he's saying. He's just speaking the truth. And the wrestling act, the persona that Cignetti does, indefensible yesterday. That was indefensible? What? Why are you looking like that?
Me and Kayce we're passing notes, and I'm looking at her.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You caught me off guard.
Blutman, that's why I pass him in notes.
I know, but then he he made such a funny face when I said indefensible. I thought
that is crazy.
I was reading her note.
I'm sorry.
Please go back to what you were saying.
The stuff he said yesterday about the whole top 25 thing was absolutely indefensible. It was pathetic. The product that they put out on the field was kind of like what we expected in that game. I thought Notre Dame would win by more than 10, but it's not a true 10. We all know that. The Cignetti special happening at the end of the game. That's a narrative to start looking at for next year when they play a big game.
Yeah.
They've done that twice now where they've made the final score look a lot closer than it really was because what the games were against, I mean, we saw that. I called that out in the early second quarter, I think, last night, where they started playing exactly like they did against Ohio State in the second half, and he's already protecting the score and the final result and the outcome and his ego.
It's bitch
I like Cignetti a lot. I like that he talks. It's refreshing that's a different kind of stuff, a different personality again in the sport.
Yeah.
But you got to back it up. You got to play fearless. All 4 underdogs played garbage passive
Gutless,
football.
Yeah.
They played like they played like they didn't belong there. Every single one of the 4 teams did.
At least Clemson tried to fight a little bit.
Yeah, Clemson fought. More than the others.
Yes, they did. Yeah, but
Big Av, Cignetti and Indiana, both times this year when they found themselves on the field with a superior product, when they looked across the line and saw better players and better coaches, they laid down and let them pet their belly both times. Great story, sure, you made the playoff, but their true colors, they knew they didn't belong.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you kind of described it well a few minutes ago where, like, this should have been, like, he leaves a weird taste in your mouth where they should have had, like, a 9-3 season, 8-4 season, where still a great jump for them. Even think from what Liam was saying at the beginning of the year, like, 7-1, 8-1, like, if they had just done that,
yeah,
and like people would have thought very highly of them. Like maybe he doesn't win like coach of the year, but they would have been like, oh, like great job, like great hire by Indiana. Like Indiana's headed the right direction. Now it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, and it says a lot about him too. Where like when he got in both big games, like in the Ohio State game, he did the same thing. He clammed up. He coached an awful game. They didn't know what to do. He was deer in the headlights. Rourke was deer in the headlights. Yeah, they just didn't belong in this. They just didn't belong with these teams. They were much closer to a like fringe top 25 team, if we're being honest, than they were really a top 10 team.
They don't have an offensive line that can compete in the pass protecting game at all against these big dogs.
They were getting
not even close.
Brutalized. But here, so I mean, I agree with you, Liam, that I like to see different personalities, and obviously it's boring when all coaches are just like the same and it's coach speak. But you know who doesn't go out there and talk a bunch of shit and who probably could is Marcus Freeman. Now, I've been hard on Notre Dame, and I've said, they haven't really played anybody, but the way that Notre Dame played, and you've got the opposing coaches on the other sideline where, Signetti is acting like an asshole. He's being, puffing his chest, making the decision he is. Marcus Freeman, and it is his personality, but he's just quietly, like, they just got better and better and better. And we always point to that Northern Illinois loss, say, ha, look what you did. Like, Brandon, you watch that Notre Dame team, and I understand it was only 10 points, but with the way that they played last night, and I understand Indiana's not very good, but, like, Notre Dame's legit. Like, Notre Dame didn't just beat up on a team. You don't think so?
I'd
like to respectfully disagree. I think half of Notre Dame is legit.
Okay.
I think their defense is legit. I think their defense is nasty. They will get after you at every single level. Watts, how did he not win Defensive Player of the Year? That motherfucker is better than Travis Hunter is defensively.
He's everywhere.
Watts is fucking incredible. Anyway.
But you don't like Riley Leonard that much.
There's still something missing offensively. Jeremiah Love had the 98-yarder, and that broke Indiana's back early. What did he run for? 11 carries for 11 yards after that? Anyway, Riley Leonard, every pass is about a foot off. Every pass that should be here is down at the ankles. They're missing. There's a rhythm. All the snaps are kind of bad. The passing game has no juice to it whatsoever. They were lucky last night. Offensively was Indiana. The defense was never going to let them lose, but offensively, I don't think Notre Dame inspired me very much last night. What do you think?
No, I agree with you, Brent. The defense is for real. They're just a team where they almost have a little bit of like a military academy to them. Let me finish what I'm going to say. Like, they're a team. I wonder if a team jumps out on them, what do they do?
Yeah.
Like, if they were to go down the game 14-0, what can they do? I think they're incredibly well coached, and they know what Riley Leonard is, and they know he's not going to throw the ball 40 times a game. They're not going to be throwing the ball down the field all over the place, like tough throws. They do a good job at doing what they do well and not making mistakes. They play good defense. They run the ball. They don't get crazy. Like, they're just smart. And I just wonder, and the thing, I think when they start to play better teams, like Georgia, for example, they're about to play, the way they impose their will on some of these teams they played down the stretch.
Yeah.
Like, even Indiana, you saw Ohio State just physically dominate them, and Notre Dame did a similar thing, probably to even a much lesser degree.
Yeah.
I just wonder, when they have to play a Georgia defensive line, what does it look like? Like, what does their offense look like against a Georgia defense?
I agree.
And I think that's what we're going to find out. And I think Georgia, even without having a good quarterback, can win that game. It's no fault to Notre Dame's that their schedule didn't work out the way they thought. Like, Florida State thought was going to be a tough game. It ended up being a cakewalk.
I think Notre Dame is going to – I think they're going to beat Georgia. But I don't think they can beat Georgia, Penn State, and Ohio State/Oregon 3 games in a row. I don't think they can. I don't think they have the quarterback play or the offense to do it. I think they have enough firepower, or they have enough defensively and running game to beat one of them, but I don't think they can string together 3.
And that's fair. And by the way, when I say that I think they're legit, and maybe that's just that I downplayed them too much, like that, again, the score was much closer than it should have been. Like, there was never a point last night, as soon as that game started, as soon as that ball was kicked off, that I ever was like, oh, Indiana can maybe pull this off. Like, and I understand, like, obviously, like, maybe in the back of my head, I'm like, they're both kind of fraudulent. Like, I thought Notre Dame looked very good. Yes, Riley Leonard is not perfect. I don't think that they're elite by any stretch, but they are a legit playoff contending team.
Last night was the most illegitimate score of all time.
I mean, it's crazy how close
the
that
fact
score
that was a 27-17 game just knocked me over with a stick. You look like your mouth is pursed to say something, Liam.
Yeah, I want to say a few things about this game. One being Notre Dame went out there and truly played a C game. The defense was incredible. Yes, they gave up a few points at the end. Who cares? The offense left a lot to be desired. They respected the Indiana rush defense a lot because they did throw the ball a lot. I thought that they were going to be able to run, a lot heavier, a lot more successful than they did outside the Love bounce off for 98. They really didn't. Leonard threw the ball like 30 plus times. The Marcus Freeman thing I want to get to.
All right.
Because Marcus Freeman, remember, I don't remember what the score was, but Signay calls timeout when Notre Dame was going to pull off that little
The fake
Oh,
field
yes,
goal.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
One of the worst timeouts I've ever seen.
And Freeman's, there's two things to this. One, he has zero fear for his opponent, that they're running that in that spot. And two, just laughing in their face that they even bit and called timeout.
Yeah.
Like there was zero respect. There was zero thought the entire week
Zero
leading
fear.
up to that game that, hey, you guys could beat us. They weren't at their best. They weren't close to being
You're
at
right.
their best.
When they did that fake field goal and he called the timeout, they panned to Freeman and he is just
He's
the
giggling.
biggest smile. He's giggling. He's laughing. Like this is a scrimmage for us.
It's just as cool as a cucumber. Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, and fine, like, Signetti got the quotes, like, Google me and all that shit. But, like, Marcus Freeman on the other side, like, he knew that he was out coaching them. He knew that their defense was going to be better. And that, to me, like, speaks highly of what he's done for that program. And I like that. Like, I like him.
Well, they're built tremendously.
Yeah, like he's just like, fuck this. Like you think that you're gonna play with me, dude? Like, and I just like I have more respect for Notre Dame than I did going into that game. Not just because they won, but because of the way that they won. And like you guys have said, they didn't have to play a perfect game. Indiana was that bad, but like the way that they won that game, the way they coached that game, the way that they, you know, I mean, obviously it was freezing fucking cold. Like the whole thing. Like I have more respect for them moving forward. I still think right now on whatever date it is, December 21st, I still think that Georgia will beat them. But like I'm gonna convince myself that Notre Dame's gonna win that game by the 31st.
I think they can make Georgia's backup quarterback cry. I think they could dominate him. Now, I don't know that Riley Leonard can do much against Georgia's defense, but we'll get there when we get there. Let's move on to another game because Penn State, SMU today.
Woof.
I was,
Woof.
I was all about this week. Indiana's not going to be good enough, and SMU's not going to be good enough. SMU was probably worse than Indiana. SMU was god awful, and Blutman, as the season went on, and every SMU fan in my DM and everything, Kevin Jennings. He was playing fucking awful today.
Yeah.
He was awful. His picks weren't just like, oh, he made a little mistake. They were, what in the fuck is that?
Yep.
That Kevin Jennings, Big Ev, you can take it. Big Ev, Kevin Jennings was fucking terrible.
Yeah, I mean, deer in the headlights. I mean, the cold definitely got to him. I think you noticed. I think Tate might have tweeted like and I noticed it myself on the TV. Well, I think it was when they interviewed him, whatever. Like he's just blowing on his hands the whole time. He's like just very uncomfortable in the setting and just obviously like ruckus atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one was bad. Like just overthrew him like right to the guy. He just looked lost out there. He just
and Penn State's got a very good
they
defense.
just no. Like, Penn State's a good team. Like that was a game where it felt like everyone in America was on Penn State and everyone was just right.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that was a truly like there's just levels to this.
Yeah.
And you knew like Lil SMU was not coming to Penn State in 20-degree weather in that stadium against that team and winning this game.
Their first playoff game.
Their first and competing.
Yeah.
When you look at their best win was Louisville.
The
Like,
cliche.
they were another team that it's unfortunate their schedule kind of just played out that way, and the ACC also just sucked.
Yeah.
I think we know that now. The ACC was just total garbage.
Yeah.
A joke, not even worthy of like an auto bid. Like not one team in that conference is a top 15 team in the country in my opinion.
No, and the cliche of like seeing ghosts, like that's what Kevin Jennings did, and like I definitely think they were worse than Indiana because they didn't even look like they belonged on the field as athletes. And like you know that Indiana has some athletes, and obviously they got outclassed. They're not as tough and everything that we've said, but SMU looked like it was like not even a practice squad coming in. Like they just looked like they were playing high school football, and they just they were scared. Like Rhett Lashley, like after the game was like, listen, what do you want me to say? Like we got beat by a very good team, and we got beat soundly, and like that's what we all watched. That's what we all, I think, mostly expected.
I mean, also I'm going to say, Penn State played like shit.
Yeah, they didn't play great.
Drew Aller did not
like
play.
Drew Aller played horrible.
Yeah.
I thought he was awful today, and I'm not just like totally just like throwing him to the side, but he was really bad today, like really bad. They were just that much better.
Blubman, you were at least 2 or 3 weeks that I saw ahead of this. Pump the brakes on Kevin Jennings. You saw this months ago.
Yeah, you've been trying to get me to bite on that noise for a bit, and every time I'm like, please deflect this anywhere else. His mechanics stink. You saw that today. When pressure gets to him, he has no idea what to do, and it's just try and use his legs and pray that something good happens. he's fine. He's a fine college quarterback. What he did today was eerily similar to what he felt like in the Nevada game in the season opener when him and Stone were splitting reps. That SMU team, it's just like going back to the conference championship game. They got down 14-0 in the blitz of the moment against Clemson. They got down 24-7 at half, and Clemson took the wheels off in the second half, and they just played prevent defense and gave SMU every check down they wanted, and it was a mirage. That SMU comeback was so flawed and a mirage and everything. SMU showed us in the first half of the Clemson game that they did not deserve to be here, and that's why some part of the conference championship has to matter to the loser. When there is risk on the table, when there is a reward on the table like that, a potential AQ and a bye, there's got to be some risk to it. And SMU, to me, had played themselves out of the playoff because of that. And you put in Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, I don't care. Take any of the three. SMU showed us last week they did not deserve to be in the spot. And then what did they do today? They showed us that they didn't deserve to be in the spot. And what happened when they actually had a chance? They had a chance early to take a 7-0 lead.
Yeah.
And what happens?
A pick,
Kevin Jennings had 1 yard to go and get. He's right there, inches away. It's one little step, and he's there. First down, move the chains, and you guys might go and pick up a 7-0 lead. Instead, he tries to throw the ball. He throws it behind a wide-open guy. And the kid doesn't catch it, and the kid got hate because he didn't catch it. That's an awful throw.
Yeah.
The only thing with that, with like it has to have some risk and reward, it's like that's fine. You can say that about this SMU and this ACC, but if you say that blanket across all the conferences and you're like, well, if you lose in the conference championship, like let's say Penn State, for example, like I understand they only had the one loss. Like, well, Penn State lost in the conference championship and Oregon kind of pushed them around. Like we should penalize them just like penalizing SMU. Like I don't think they have to fix it. Don't get me wrong. They have to fix it. But just blanket saying like, well, if you lose the conference championship, you have to risk something. Like that's not fair when you're playing in the Big Ten or you're playing in the SEC in a normal season. The ACC was just shit this year.
I mean, they genuinely should have been behind Ohio State.
Yeah. Talking about Penn State though, I think this is a team that can. I think there's 6 teams left that can win the national title.
I agree.
I think Arizona State can't win it. I think Boise State can't win it. I think Georgia and Texas out of the SEC, the 3 Big Ten teams. Notre Dame.
Yep.
I can see a world where any of those 6 wins the national title. If I ranked them, I don't know where I'd put everybody. Probably put Georgia on the low end of it right now because of the quarterback situation.
Well, and obviously, like you'll exit one Big Ten team after next round too.
Yeah, but I love this Penn State team. I think they're really fucking good. Their defense doesn't get the credit that an Ohio State defense gets, but they are just nasty. And I think the running game really hasn't even been this year what we thought it was going to be. But I think Aller hopefully for them, got his stinker out of the way today. They showed up. They played a team they should have beat the shit out of. They beat the shit out of them with their C+ game.
Well, I know all 4 games. I mean, Clemson, Texas was a little bit closer. Like it was 14 points, but it felt closer because of the way that Clemson had the opportunities, and we'll get to that game. But of all 4 games, even all 4 blowouts, that game still felt the most pathetic to me. And I mean, Tennessee was bad. But
Tennessee was fucking bad,
Tennessee
man.
was
We're getting
bad.
that ass.
Yeah, Tennessee was bad. But SMU, just like, we've all said it, like they deserve to be there from the current criteria of what the committee is looking at from a talent standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, across the board. They were by far the least deserving because it just wasn't ever even a game. There was no excitement to that game. I didn't give a shit to like sit there and be like, could SMU make this a game? No, because once they got down, you knew they were never coming back.
Yeah, if there's an alternate world where 2024 SMU and 2024 Indiana are playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I'm trying to think of a Big Ten ACC tie-in or the Pinstripe Bowl maybe. Like there's an alternate universe where those 2 teams are playing in the Pinstripe Bowl. Because listen, SMU was the worst team in this playoff.
Easily.
Indiana was better than SMU. I just whatever. Not what I think today and yesterday sucked. What lays ahead of us is the magic of the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have 8 teams now We have 7 games left, and I think we've got potential for some really good games, some really good teams. Like I said, when 6 of those 8, in my opinion, have a chance for a national title, you've got a chance for a really special couple of weeks. Texas beats Clemson 38-24. Now, Clemson fought them. Clemson came out, took a lead early of 7-0, then it was 21-7, and they kind of jostled a little bit back and forth. Clemson made a push to make it 31-24, and then Texas scored last. Anywho, Texas wins. I'm not worried about the score as much as I'm thinking about this. Texas needed to see something offensively, Big Ev. They needed to see life because in some of these games down the stretch, they haven't seen it. Against A&M, Quinn Ewers made some mistakes. Against Georgia, they didn't do much. Now, offensively, with the running game, with Ewers being a little steadier, that looks like a team that can win a national title. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, and that's what I was going to say. It was the run game that looked great.
Yeah.
Blue looked unbelievable. I mean, they're up 31-10. Clemson scores a quick couple of touchdowns, then bang, 77 yards, blew it to the house, 14 points, like 10 minutes left, thinking game over. No, I mean, that definitely has got to be a game that instills confidence in the offense because that had been the thing. They had these bad performances against, like, A&M. It wasn't great. A few games down the stretch where they didn't score a lot of points. It was big for them to, at least, like, as much as I just trashed the ACC, Clemson's defense is, like, has some players on it. It's not horrible. Go score 38 on them. It's a good performance by them. They did need to see one. And it was like he did throw a pick. It wasn't great. It actually got right back for a touchdown. The touchdown got called back. But he played, I think, a good enough game that you feel like, all right, like good performance out there.
Yeah.
Now we got Arizona State coming, who I think might be live as well. That's an interesting game. But obviously we're talking about this game. Yeah, it kind of was like about what I expected. I laid the points with Texas, but I don't know. Clemson's Clemson. They just kind of this year they just weren't. They've been the team they were the last 3 years.
All this talk about Indiana, did they deserve it? SMU, did they deserve it? And those teams had the records and did what they had to do on the field. Clemson just didn't. Clemson
got blown out by Louisville at home, like beat the shit out of them.
Georgia beat them by 30. They lose to their rival at home, and they get rewarded on a technicality, a fucking technicality. Miami loses in the last week, and Clemson gets there, and they get to beat a mediocre SMU team, and then they get an automatic. If there's ever going to be the committee look in the mirror and say, do we need automatic bids, even bids for these conference championships? Because it resulted in a Clemson team who went 9-3 and showed no signs of being a playoff team until they won a game that goes to send somebody to the playoff.
Yeah, no, they backdoored their way into it because, I mean, and again, it goes back to South Carolina, and I understand South Carolina's on the playoff, and we can move past it, but, like, South Carolina beat them, and I think they would beat them again, like, if they were to match up. Like, but I will say this about, and Brandon, you went through this, I think, on the preview episode or one of the episodes last week, that you named all the quarterbacks that Texas had seen all year. And you ask us, you ask Ev, I think specifically, is Cade Klubnik better than all those guys? And I think we all said yes. Cade Klubnik today, like, and I understand, like, they only scored 24 points, but, like, he had, like, the best game a quarterback has had against Texas's offense or Texas defense all season.
He's a really good player.
He had 3 touchdowns. He had 336 yards. Like, he was able to, and I don't want to say carve up because they only scored 24 points, but he was able to score against this Texas offense or Texas defense. And that, to me, if you're a Texas fan, like, yes, their offense put together some things against a Clemson defense. That's fine. But we're also talking about a Clemson team we don't think should be here. The way that Cade Klubnik was able to score against Texas defense, that would be a little bit concerning. Now, maybe not against Arizona State, but, like, when you look at the quarterbacks that are left, who Texas can end up having to play, like, that's why I don't think that they're like, could they win a national title? Yes, but if they have to play,
they're gonna go Leavitt, Gabriel or Howard,
which.
And then
I think Oregon's going to beat Ohio State. Now again, Ohio.
So Leavitt and Gabriel.
But I mean, like, I think Dylan Gabriel could, like, you want to talk about carving them up. I mean, like, I think Dylan Gabriel is a much better quarterback than Cade Klubnik. Now, all credit to Texas, they handled what they needed to do. But I think Dylan Gabriel is much better than Cade Klubnik.
I don't agree with that part, but he is good.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Oh, I do.
I think Cade Klubnik's fan-fucking-tastic.
He's good.
And the fact that he sucked early in his career has made people decide he's always going to suck.
I don't think he's going to suck.
They did the same thing to Drew Aller. I think Gabriel is a very veteran, experienced quarterback in the exact right spot for a quarterback. I think Cade Klubnik's probably a better player. But anyway, yeah. I mean,
My point.
Dylan Gabriel's carved up worse teams than or better teams in Texas this year. So
My point is that, like, I do think that it wasn't like Texas went out there and just absolutely dominated in all phases of football. They obviously won by 10 points, but if you watching that game, and we were in the air for a little bit of it, but there were also multiple points in that game with Clemson where they had the opportunity, they couldn't connect, whatever, which we've seen them do. I wasn't blown away by Texas' performance. You win by 10, that's great. You obviously are going to, go to the next round. You play Arizona State. But, like, I didn't – everything that we said about Texas going into this game was they hadn't really played anybody, right? Well, Clemson didn't even deserve to be in the playoff. Now, they won, and good for you, and your offense finally put something together. But it's not like what I just saw Ohio State do.
No, I was going to say exactly that. The only favorite, the only home team this week that just wowed me and made me say,
was Ohio
"Look
State.
the fuck out," was Ohio State.
Right.
We already talked about the Ohio State game, but actually I was going to change to another game, but I forgot you didn't talk about Texas Clemson. Blackman, what were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, Texas in the first half, like Kayce was saying. Well, yes, Texas in the first half looked like, oh shoot, maybe national championship contender once again. And then the second half, they just coasted. But what they did was they stepped up and got a big play when they needed a big play. The Jaden Blue 77-yard blur touchdown run was massive. How about the goal line stop? In due part to absolute ineptitude from Clemson, please get under center, sneak the ball. You're maybe a half inch away. Instead, they go shotgun twice, get stuffed, blah, 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 whatever. It was you. A&M showed you. Other teams showed you. Don't run into the meat of Texas's front seven. You do not do that. They did it. They paid for it. The Texas run game was incredible. Offensive line played great. Calvin Banks incredible once again. Ryan Wingo looked real good too. A lot of credit I think needs to go to TJ Moore on Clemson. I like him a lot. True freshman going up against that Texas secondary in a playoff game, road game, tough atmosphere. He put up like 8 for 117 and a touchdown. He was unbelievable. They've got a really good one there. One thing I can't help but think about, and I'm sure I'll lose the battle, Clemson and SMU played.
Yeah.
Clemson won.
Yeah.
They controlled most of the game, and whatever happened at the end
Sure.
happened. I just feel like Clemson should have been the 11 and SMU the 12. And at least am I picking at straws
Clemson
there?
would have played.
It's the losses.
I understand.
They actually lost.
Yeah,
I don't think it would have changed anything.
I get that and everything, but they did play head-to-head. One got the AQ, the other didn't. To me,
Also, Texas SMU would have been more interesting from an in-state perspective.
Absolutely.
Clemson Penn
Texas
State
still
would have been a
beat the
better
shit out of
game.
them, though.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have changed any of the results, but it would have changed maybe. I don't.
I'm grasping at straws. I know, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you're right. I'm fine with that. All right, so we already talked about at length about Ohio State and Tennessee. Ohio State really wowed me and really looked impressive. I think we can just go straight to we can still do the who won, who lost, and shit list, can we not?
Yeah, unless Ev has anything else he wants to say.
No, I mean I just feel good. I think the national title game is the Rose Bowl. It just felt really good to see the team play at its full potential. Like that was a level that they got to that they hadn't got to all year in any game.
I'll just say this about that. I'll just say this. Ohio State and Oregon, I think, are the two best teams.
Mm-hmm.
You go out and you do what it takes to beat an Oregon, or you do what it takes to beat an Ohio State, and the next week you got Texas looking at you.
Sure.
Like that's
sure.
I mean,
But
yeah.
like that, I don't think there's a guarantee whoever wins next week is winning the national title.
That's
no,
fair,
but that
that's fair,
side, but
that's
that
fair.
side of the bracket has it so much harder.
Yeah.
In my
but
opinion.
You're right. Texas is a very tough game. Like,
Yeah,
that's
especially coming out of what you're going to have to do to beat
No,
Oregon.
100%. I think the two best teams in the country are playing in the Rose
Yeah.
Bowl.
I think Arizona
I'll
State's
leave it
going to
at
beat
that.
Texas.
You think Arizona State's going to beat Texas?
I do.
Do you still believe that, Blevin? Because you believed that previously.
I'm not as bullish on that as I was a week ago, talking confidently. I think Texas is going to win. Running on that team is so hard. It's going to take a Herculean effort from their offensive line.
Arizona State has a Hercules.
I know.
It's not Marcel Reed trying to run up the middle.
It's going to take an ultra performance from the offensive line, not just from Scadaboo, not just from Lovett. They've got to go and they've got to play 60 minutes of lights out offensive line trench play.
Yeah.
That's a tough ask against that defense. So I think Texas is going to win. I'd love to see ASU win and get some funky stuff happening here, but yeah.
I'd like to take that. That was mean. Why did I throw Marcel Reed under the bus like that?
It's fine.
That was so unnecessary.
Nobody cares about Marcel Reed.
You know,
I do. That was mean
All right.
to me.
Big F. Well, this is the most.
I mean,
thing I've
come
ever
on.
asked
Well, that's
Come
what
on,
I
anybody.
was going to say. The categories is like there's only 4 teams that can win.
But I think it still applies.
I think Ohio State is clearly the
Who won the
winner.
week?
Ohio State won the week. Obviously, they won the week. They just came off one of the most devastating losses in the history of sports. Dust themselves off, got up the mat, and just whooped ass.
Yeah.
I'll reiterate. I've said anything bad you can say possibly about Ryan Day. He rallied the troops, and that's really, really big. And it's as much as I've discredited, we've seen him do that a few times.
Yeah.
Like he did it. I know they lost the Georgia game, so it loses its like luster when you say it. It's steam. But like that team, I mean, that was an all-time Georgia team that they got off the mat and like gave them everything they could handle. Literally a field goal. If the field goal just goes in,
That field
They
goal
win
at
that game.
midnight too.
it'll haunt me forever. That kick will haunt me. A kick's never missed so badly in the history of football.
As the
Regardless.
ball was
But
dropping.
he's got for these post these Michigan games. He's gotten them off the mat. He got off the mat this time. He got off the mat that time. They didn't play them the COVID year, but like they had an unbelievable playoff game against Clemson that year that basically murdered Dabo and Clemson as a program and has belittled them to a point where a team they're like a charity case in the playoff.
Yeah.
So he's done that, and I give him credit for that, and the seniors too. I mean Sawyer and all these guys, like all the shit they've taken to like respond and like go out of Ohio Stadium like that way, like that's gonna be now their last game, not the Michigan game. That's their last game in Ohio Stadium. And I feel great about
That's
that.
a good point. That's a good point.
I just hope they don't. I just hope that they don't realize that the job's not done yet. I don't think they will, but it's just one of those things. They got such a good win, such like a fulfilling win. Like I'm feeling it as a fan. I can only imagine like how he feels. Like he's feeling himself. Will Howard's feeling himself. Just like let's lock back in now. Like massive game in front of you. Let's get our lick back now. Oregon on the map.
Blevin, who won the week?
I don't have 90 of them, and I don't have anything creative for this one. It's just simply Ohio State. In particular, Will Howard. He almost threw that early interception. Agbuka saved his butt, and he threw some. He had so many pro throws tonight. Yeah, guys were open because they were creating separation at a high level. The play calling was phenomenal as well from Day and Kelly. Like they were in their bag all night. Howard could not have placed some of these balls better if he to the spot and tried shoving it in there. The ball he throws to Smith for a second touchdown is crazy. Ryan, we didn't do players to watch this week, which I was kind of bummed about because I had 8 of them. My guy for Ohio State was Ryan Day. That was my player to watch because you needed to show me something. You needed to show everybody something that they were cooking in the last few weeks, and they were. And I expected a dead dog to show up today. I really did. I couldn't have been more wrong about reading that game. And it happens. Hand up.
Mm-hmm.
Human.
I thought you were done.
I was done playing.
It seemed like you didn't need to.
Yeah, it did. You did.
No.
You had a period
You
there.
gotta know the cadence.
Go.
I mean, like the media, the talking to the media was so uninspiring, and something they called a perfect game to figure out. I don't know why it took so long to figure out. Like you already said, you do it against Michigan, you score 77. Get the ball on the flat. Get the ball on drags to Smith. Tennessee had no idea where to defend and what to defend. They were so paranoid about getting beat deep and vertically and on the crossing routes and the timing patterns game and everything. And they were clueless because Ohio State had them in a blender in every which way. And it's as simple as that. Sometimes the best football, the best offense is simplicity. And they figured it out. And that's what makes them finally so potent and actually look like a national championship contender, which is what we needed to see. So credit to Howard, credit to Day, credit to Kelly, credit to the program. A++ game. There was not a single flaw the entire night, aside from the kick, I guess.
Who won the week?
I'm going to think outside the box a little bit here. And I'm going to say, Brandon, I don't think that they won the week, but they're going to think that they won the week. All the haters that said that the 12-team playoff was too many teams. All the people that were like, oh, we don't need the expansion and 4 is fine, because they're all sitting at home right now. They're on their phones and their keyboards and like, see, way too many teams. Look at these blowouts. Now, obviously, we did not have a fun game to watch. Now, anytime there's college football, it's going to be fun. And I hear that, but what the 12-team playoff is going to do, it's going to be trial and error. We're going to figure out how to fix it, hopefully by next year, and maybe it'll take a couple seasons. But you saw that a lot on Twitter. Even after like 2 games, it was like, see, this is why the expansion wasn't needed, because we're going to have all these blowouts. The 8-team playoff, and so maybe it should have been 8 to start. I don't know. You can't put toothpaste back in the tube. But they're going to get a win. So they won because we did have 4 blowouts. We did have 4, essentially boring games, unless one of your teams won, like Ev did. They're going to be quieted down. They're going to be quieted down on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because I do think we're going to have closer games. They're going to be more fun. I'll let them have a win for a second. Those were 4 bad games to watch.
Well, I'll say this. All the negative haters about the 12-team playoff just got off real lucky, because that was going to be mine too, and I wasn't going to be nearly as nice as she.
No, go for it. Go off, King.
No, I just there are some celebratory assholes on Twitter saying, "See, told you. Why would we want 12 teams? See, I told you." And you were right. On the micro view, they look correct today, because last night sucked and today 3 bad games. But this playoff just gave us one of the most exciting regular seasons we've ever had. This playoff has given us for a month discussion about South Carolina and Ole Miss and Alabama. It's given us all this, and it's going to give us stuff going forward. So people who have wanted this to die on the vine, yes, you win today. That's fine. These games weren't great. But imagine getting more college football and being a negative, whiny fucking bitch about it. That's what you look like, you negative fucking whiny bitches about it. This is a better system. It ain't the best system. We'll figure it out. It's a better system. It's a better day. Today wasn't great. We're going forward. We'll be fine.
I agree
Fucking
with you.
idiots.
But
Okay.
but they do feel like they've won a little bit.
Oh, they're chirping on Twitter like they won, but I'll be back. Who lost the weekend?
I think it's got to be Indiana, because Cignetti, he wrote a check. His ass couldn't cash.
Yeah.
If he doesn't talk like that, I don't think it's as bad. If he doesn't coach like such a chicken shit, I don't think it looks as bad. Because the one thing I actually wanted to say about them before that, I didn't. Their defense fought their ass off.
Yeah.
The defense played hard. Like, they played they let up the one big run to Love. They overall played a pretty solid game other than that. But him just talking the way they did and just getting embarrassed like that, like, I don't even think people will remember that the score was 10 points.
No.
Like, no one that watched the game remembers that. All they remember is it was 27-3. That feels like the real score. They got their asses kicked. They lost the week. And like we've kind of said a few times, all of us, now the way they'll be remembered won't be probably the way you could argue they should or shouldn't. I guess they probably shouldn't be remembered in a good light. But whatever, like, goodwill they built up, like the good season they had, it'll just be remembered as, like, when they played a team with a pulse, they not only lost, they got truly embarrassed and just out-physicaled, and just Heisman quarterback contenders that looked like they don't belong on a college football field. Like, just bad. I mean, just overall just made the team look horrible.
I mean, I said that when you guys were walking in. I truly believe that they set a standard. Now, we saw 3 other teams get blown out today to a certain degree, but I believe that they set a standard for, just because you go 11-1 doesn't mean you actually played a good season, or I mean, obviously strength of schedule is now more going to come into focus because of this Indiana team.
Well, but will we learn that, though? Like, will they learn that the next time around?
I hope so.
Like, will they if we're in a similar scenario, will they tell Indiana to go fuck themselves? Like, because I kind of don't think they
It'll
will.
have to be a better situation, because this year they didn't have a choice. This year, if there were 2-loss SEC teams, maybe there's a discussion.
Yes.
When Alabama and Ole Miss and South Carolina blew it and created the gap of 1-loss Indiana and 3-loss SEC teams, there's no discussion to be had there.
Correct.
And if Alabama were 2-loss, Ole Miss was 2-loss, now we're discussing. But at 3, fuck you. You're out.
But do you think they will? Do you think they'll use this as? I don't want to say an example, because, like, when whatever happens next year, like, you can't just compare, like, 1-to-1. But will they? I guess maybe they can't. Will they look at a team that played the bottom half of their conference only, and then another team who played like a lot of the top teams? And even if a scenario like this, where it's like 1 loss to 3, and a team like Bama who has like a numerous good wins you could pull from, or at least like you'd say from Georgia to if you want to count to whoever, like top 25 wins, and another team has none in the top 50. will they look at that and say, you know what, like, listen, sorry, sucks to suck.
I think they'll put a more critical eye on it.
do.
I think they'll look hard. I think they'll value decent wins more, and they'll value tough schedules more. I think they have to. I think they just have to.
'Cause I think now
SMU
we've
and
seen-
Indiana happening independently of each other would have been fine. Them happening in the same year just proves the theory that
'Cause it's-
schedule can get you here.
Because it's not
And
just
Clemson.
them, too. Like, even the
And Texas, to be honest, but
Right.
Texas played well.
Because it's not just them. Even the SMU thing, like, will they acknowledge now that the gap is even wider than we thought it was between SEC, Big Ten, and everyone else?
They're going to
Like-
have to.
Like, I think because, like, now, like, we talked about, like, them having the buys. I thought it would go to, all right, now they're just going to have auto bids, not buys.
Yeah.
Now I don't think they should even have auto
Anything.
No ACC team should have got in. Zero ACC team should have been in the playoff.
Blevin, who lost the weekend?
Real quickly on Indiana's defense, they do deserve just a bunch of credit because they played pretty well against Ohio State. They held their own. They played very well against Notre Dame. Their run defense was great. That offense just dwindled big time. Two, people who said, people who were like, be happy, you got more games, you got free football. I was waiting for a reaction from you. I was making a joke. You didn't give a reaction. That was tough.
I was letting you do your thing.
I was making.
Blum, and I have.
It's been a long day, buddy.
I'd still rather the more football debate. I'd rather the four.
I was just
games.
making a funny joke about how we got to the 18 playoff anyway, and I was looking at you, and we didn't get there, and that's okay. Tennessee's a massive loser this week. I mean, we were expecting a good game. At the very minimum, a good game. A lot of us thought you could win. I did. What an idiot, a buffoon at that.
Me too. Right there with
I mean, they couldn't create an ounce of separation tonight. Yeah, it was just bad. Dante Thornton, Squirrel White, countless other Dylan Sampson, countless other guys just got hurt. We thought your pass rush would be able to do something against Ohio State's offensive line that was banged up, shuffling guys in and out. You couldn't do a thing. That's tough. You have two great pass rushers that were ghosts tonight. It was a brutal, tough watch for Tennessee. Another big loser, because I gotta get to him, is Lane Kiffin. Because all Lane Kiffin did this weekend was tweet. That's all he was doing. He does it often, sure, and he's a good tweeter. Well, Mr. Social Boy wasn't to be seen today. He was on a milk carton during the Tennessee game, even though he was talking all this talk for the other three blowouts. You should have showed up for this one.
He did tweet a little bit. He tweeted "Go Vols"
Get his ass, Blevin.
When it was
Tweeted "Go
0-0.
Get his
Tweeted "Go
ass.
Vols."
When it was
Get his ass,
0-0.
Blevin.
They ain't even tweet. And I got your notes.
on his ass,
I
Blevin.
like seeing your tweets, playa. You got to tweet. You got to tweet through
Come
it.
on,
Look at
Playboy.
me. I play the social game too. I play the podcasting game. I'm a two-way player. You're a two-way player. You coach, you tweet. When you lose, you still got to tweet. When you're on the wrong side, you got to tweet. You got to take credit for a loss. You lost. Own up to it, Playboy.
I have some things to say, but it's for a different category.
Well, I wasn't even going to do shit list this week.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll say no. We don't have to. I'll say some things about that. When your ass gets roasted, the way that his ass was getting roasted on Twitter today by everybody, by like actual sports books, by media, by everybody, it's like somebody's got to take the Twitter away. Somebody's got to do it, and then you can't disappear. If you're going to be that way, you got to do it, and that goes to the whole thing. And like we talked about at the top of the show, and I tweeted it, and you just said it. You cannot have 3 losses in the conference and argue that you should be in over a 1-loss team. I don't care who it is. And I'll give South Carolina a little bit of grace. They figured it out. Alabama, you lost to Vanderbilt. Great story for them. You still lost to Vanderbilt. Then you had every opportunity in the world and you lost to Oklahoma. You scored 3 points against Oklahoma. Ole Miss, you lost to Kentucky, the worst team, second worst team, sorry, Brandon, in the SEC. They had 1 SEC win against you, and then you go lose to Florida again. It's so baffling to me that people are trying to argue about that.
Well, real quick.
I think the
quick.
LSU loss might have been worse than the Florida one by the time they played.
But my point was that they had all new life after they lost to Kentucky and LSU. They were going to be in the playoff despite losing to Kentucky, despite losing to
Still lost to
LSU,
Florida.
and they still lost to Florida. That's my thing with Alabama. Like, you already had 2 losses, one being to Tennessee, and then obviously the Vanderbilt loss, and you still went out and lost to Oklahoma. Both of those teams had 2 true chances to be back into the playoff, and they fucked up at the end of the season. I don't.
Yeah, but
wanna
DeBoer's
hear it.
not saying anything. DeBoer is taking
I
it
know,
like a
but
classy
Alabama,
dude.
But Alabama fans are.
Alabama fans are idiots.
Kalen DeBoer
Lane
is not saying
Kiffin-
anything.
Lane Kiffin is acting like a fan, and he's saying, "Oh, this is riveting. This is." Ole Miss had 3 losses this year, and they were better than all 3 teams. There's no team that needs to blame their fucking coach more than that team. Lane Kiffin failed his kids, failed his fan base, and he's the one out here tweeting out, "Oh, Indiana, this is riveting and stuff." You fucking blew it. You blew it, and you're wanting to be Mr. Funny Guy on Twitter. It's a bad look. It's a bad look.
And
anyway.
that's the funniest thing about Lane Kiffin and everyone else tweeting about the SEC and everything and how they should have got in. We got to this spot because of the 3 of you, and it's because of the SEC. I didn't mean 3 of you as 3 you 3 guys. I meant as the teams. The blood's on their palms.
Oh,
it was all on them.
1,000%.
We're here because of you.
And that is why, I mean, and obviously we've said in, like, all we can say about it. Like, that's why Tennessee, to me, like, bigger picture from, like, you know, just these 4 games, like, bigger picture, the SEC loss, but Tennessee doing what they did tonight, looking pathetic. And Ohio State played a phenomenal game. You guys deserved every ounce of flowers you can possibly get. Tennessee looked bad for, I mean, and I understand Texas won. They're in the SEC as well. Tennessee made the whole SEC look like shit to me today. And I know Ohio State was better. And I'm not saying that Tennessee was a better team than Ohio State, but it was a pathetic loss. They didn't look like they deserved to be on the same field as Ohio State. And that's the team that we were all sitting like, well, obviously Tennessee's going to be in the playoff. Like, they deserve to be in the playoff. They're good enough to be in the playoff. And they got their shit kicked.
They don't even get a P grade from me. They don't get a participation
so
grade.
bad.
They were that bad. They were that lost.
Yes.
Okay. So my who lost the week is, and we're not gonna do shit list because Stephanie has to be back.
Well, we also all I think we just did it.
Oh.
Well, Stephanie has to be back to stream the NFL games tomorrow, right? So I want to get her out of here.
Thank
But
you
I'm
for
gonna
being
finish
here,
this. Who lost the week. I think it's easy. It's no problem. Tennessee was awful. They were embarrassing. SMU was awful. But Kurt Cignetti lost the week because I think the bloom's off the rose. I think this whole character he's playing, Google me, fuck Michigan, fuck Ohio State. The second you get in a game against a better team, you lay down like a fucking bitch. He is a coward. He is a phony, fake con artist. He is a liar. He didn't deserve to be here. He's a good-ass coach. A good-ass coach. But the second it got tough, he laid down. He punted with down 17 in the fourth quarter from the 49-yard line. He showed his true colors that he is bitch made, and he is not. He can puff his chest out, and he can say, "We beat the shit out of ranked teams." Who'd you beat? Nebraska and Coastal Carolina. You're a liar because you know they're not ranked teams. You know you're lying. Anyway, I thought he was the coach of the year this year. Take that away and give it to the real winner, Dillingham out of Arizona State.
You know
that's what they ought to do.
I voted for Dillingham as coach of the year.
He should have. Knowing what we know now, everybody should have.
Real G's move in silence like lasagna, Brandon. That's what he should do. He should be a real G and move in silence.
I hate you so much.
Can I say one thing?
Well, yes.
Real quick. Because I got people thought I was joking when I was like, hey, SMU Penn State going on? North Dakota State, South Dakota State should have been on everyone's mind. It should have. And Montana State.
Let him cook. Hold on. You have 30 seconds.
Do you see the catch? You saw the catch Bryce Lance made today, Trey Lance.
You just wasted 5 seconds.
Unbelievable catch. Touchdown Tommy Milan in the Montana State game. Brandon Walker. That man's a demon, and we've got Montana State, North Dakota State, January 6th National Championship. Does North Dakota State reclaim the top of the FCS and the dynasty comes back to life, or does undefeated Montana State make it happen? Avenge. Oh, this is going to be good. Tune in. Cam Miller, a pro.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for being alongside. I don't know when we're coming to you next. We'll
after the Christmas break.
After
not Christmas break. We don't have a Christmas.
Thursday after Christmas.
I'm not really sure. I think
we'll figure it out.
Preview show for the Elite
Merry
Eight.
Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays.
Stephanie, thank you for staying late tonight
you,
and doing this live for us. She was the only production person here today, so shout out to her. That's unnecessary roughness.